Hi, this is Brendan Fry.
And I'm Wayne Santos.
And today we're going to talk about Point Counterpoint on Duke Nukem Forever.
Which you really don't like.
I do not like this game.
So let's start with that then. And I mean, okay, you didn't actually review it. I was the one that reviewed the game. For
you reviewed the game. You gave it. I
gave it a 69, which
yeah.
I thought was an appropriate score, all things considered, for Duke Nukem.
It fit what it is, yeah.
Okay, but would you have scored it lower? I don't think you would have scored it higher.
I wouldn't have scored it higher. I would give it about 55.
Okay, 55. So why would you do that?
I think Duke Nukem is a character from a time period that no longer exists anymore. The 90s no longer matter. The character of Duke Nukem is a product of 90s Hollywood film and the machismo of the time period. He no longer has any relevance in today's time period, and I think it comes off as really misogynistic and doesn't work.
Okay, see, I think that this is interesting because it's like, while I also agree that Duke Nukem is dated, I don't have a problem necessarily with him being dated because I take it in the same way that the 80s are dated, where it's like, well, yeah, sure, stuff from the 80s isn't going to fly in the 21st century either.
Okay, yeah.
But at the same time, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's totally devoid of entertainment. I mean, I admit that it's like Duke is like stupid and juvenile, and there's it's like a lot of sexism and misogyny in the game. But it's like when you take it for the period of time, it's like when you understand that it's like I said in my review, if I were a frat boy playing this at my fraternity house and it were 1999, this might have been the Modern Warfare 3 of that era.
And the game is really jam-packed with content.
Yeah.
If you just sheer content value, this game is hours upon hours of enjoyment. If you're just talking strictly how many things you get to shoot per minute. Problem is, it's content that feels old now. It doesn't feel like it's part of this decade even.
Yeah. But then, I mean, like, does that mean then that you're saying that, if you boot up, like, the original Legend of Zelda, you'd be like, okay, I can't play this anymore. It's just too dated. Or, I mean, like, are you saying that old games just shouldn't be played anymore?
No,
or?
I'm not saying that.
Okay.
But I'm saying old games shouldn't be sold as new games.
This was definitely, like, pre-motion capture era, and it shows.
It does. The characters, they have this weird, like, mannequin feel. Like, when you're talking to someone, they go up, down, kind of like that. Compared to other games, like, comparing it to L.A. Noire is just a joke. This game just has nothing in comparison.
Yeah. But and yet there's a certain dated clunkiness to it that, it's like I can sort of sit there and just go, it's like, oh, how foolish we were back in those days to think this stuff was cutting edge.
I think there's some really good elements in there. And if they had shaved off maybe 8 hours of gameplay, made it a solid 8-hour experience, they could have made a really tight experience. I just think they tried putting too much in there. The more needed to go on the cutting room floor, and if they had done that, they might have had a game that actually can compete in today's world. Yeah. So what did you like? Talk about what you thought was actually entertaining and why
I actually did enjoy the stupidity.
Really?
I mean, it's like, because I knew that it was dumb and wrong, but yet at the same time I just thought to myself, well, this is an artifact of a bygone era, and I can sort of appreciate that for what it is. I mean, I know that there are a lot of people who are going on and on about the political correctness and, just how this sort of thing doesn't hold up now, but I also keep reminding myself, this wasn't made now. Right. This was made then. So I do take it as a cultural relic, and I can enjoy it on that level. I liked a lot of the elements that they had in the game. I just, like you say, they should have shortened them down because, I mean, like, the physics puzzles that they had in the game.
They felt like Half-Life 2 when it first came out.
Yeah, those would have been all right if they didn't have so many of them. It's like, the platforming, they could have seriously cut down on that because the controls weren't up to the task.
Why
of
does it even have any platforming?
Yeah.
Why? It doesn't need to
I mean,
be
like, that's one of the interesting things to me about Duke Nukem is that it's got first-person shooting in it, but it's also got exploration elements. It's got puzzle elements. It's like it's even got it's like adventure game elements in that sense, where you're just running around and overcoming certain obstacles, and you don't necessarily have to shoot anything.
That makes sense.
So I mean, it's like Duke Nukem did a lot of interesting things. It just didn't do them to the standards that we now expect for a 21st century first-person shooter. I don't think, as it's like some people are hinting at, that it's like the game is fundamentally evil and you are somehow degrading yourself as a human being by playing it. I mean, it's like I think that's a bit of an exaggeration to say that this thing is actually lowering the human condition. It's like it's a video game. It's not that bad.
Okay.
You know, it's like otherwise we're right back to like, you know, Night Trap is corrupting the youth, and you're an evil person if you play this game. And it's like, no game is going to make you evil, but some people are saying that that's what's going to happen if you play Duke Nukem. So I think that that's taken it a bit far.
Okay.
It's like, yeah, I don't believe that the game is the Antichrist.
Fair enough.
I don't believe that any video game is the Antichrist. You know, it's like, it's certainly not Duke Nukem. So,
will you sign this for me?
Sure, kid. You might grow up to be as awesome as me.